Hello, everyone, and welcome to my next little podcast, YouTube, Instagram. So today we have Clarissa Burt. Now, Clarissa used to be a movie star back in the day with a huge library of movies and appearances that she's done, and now she's much more into the wellness industry. So do you want to give us a little bit of a background on these?
Yeah, oh gosh, I'd love to. So I lived in Italy for 30 years and I worked on television there. So I started out as I started out modeling first, then on-camera talent, and on-camera talent turned into my own, production company. So I mean, there's not very much about media that I don't know, much like yourself. And I just love what I do. I was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. They told me I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle, and so I'm a talker and a communicator, and I love everything that is media. So that's where I am, and that's who I help. We help people get their brands out there, their messages out there through television and podcast, a digital magazine, and all kinds of other ways. So yeah, I just love what I do. So that's it, kind of in a nutshell.
Fantastic. So you've got a book out. Tell us about the book and what that's all about.
Absolutely. Well, the book, sometimes we have a book forever in our heads, and you're just waiting for the right opportunity, because I'm never going to sit down and write a book. It's not going to happen. I'm too darn busy. It's not going to happen. So I was doing a speech recently, about 3 years ago. It wasn't recently, 3 years ago. And I got off the stage, and this guy came over to me that I had already known. He's a literary agent. He says, "I have to write your book." And so it was. We created the time for me to sit down and bring all my thoughts to the table. The book is called The Self-Esteem Regime. It's an action plan for becoming the confident person that you were meant to be. And there are a million reasons that people say, "Why did you write the book?" Well, as a child growing up, there was a kind of a difficult background there. And then I watched my mother be in this horribly toxic relationship, and that was really unpleasant. And then she hated to have her picture taken. "Oh, Mom, you're gorgeous. What's the issue?" "Take my picture." Okay. So I saw that that's where it started. My grandmother, another beautiful woman. Need to lose weight. She didn't need to lose an ounce. She was fabulous. So she decided one day to take diet pills. She chokes on them, perforates her esophagus, spends the next 6 weeks in the hospital. Grandma, I went, well, that was kind of an interesting moment. Let me figure that one out. So then as I started to model, I realized that there were so many of these beautiful creatures that I was working with, and some of them, not all, but some of them had issues, whether it be bulimia and anorexia, or whether it be, again, toxic relationships, or it be drugging and drinking. Now, look, I understand that when we're younger, we're kind of looking for ourselves, and there's a little wiggle room, but I'm talking about the cases that were extreme. And so I thought to myself, gee, what is the common denominator here? Because it's coming from so many different reference points for me. And of course, it was low self-esteem. So I decided that it was time, especially in these times, Antonia, and especially after COVID, because COVID was a time of loss for us. I don't know about for you, but for a lot of people, it was loss of family, loss of faith, loss of hope, loss of jobs, loss of money, loss of identity, just loss. And so post-COVID, it's just has been the perfect time for people to, put their big girl britches back on, forge through, and some people need some support. And that's what the book does give. I mean, it's awesome. When I first got this book, it was all the three different colors of blue. It was pink, yellow, and orange. So it was really bright and very feminine. So the only thing that I asked the publishers to change was, could you please make it blue? Make it 3 different iterations of blue. Because if it's blue, I think it's a little more calming, and not only maybe the men will pick it up. Well, I cannot tell you how many men have told me they've read this book and how it's really helping to, to modify, to change some of their patterns. It's great. It's awesome.
So what sort of tips and techniques are in your book then? Is it a workbook, or how does it work?
Well, the workbook, in the sense that, it is not per se a workbook, but there is work to do in the book. So we have homework, if you will. It's not a workbook. A little bit different, because I'm trying to get now the publisher to come out with the proper workbook. But the first thing that we want to do is release. It's simple, and we hear it all the time, but do we do the work? Do we actually sit down and do the work? Yeah, no, I got to let go of some things, and I got to, but okay, but what do you have to let go of? Write it down. How are you going to get through that process? You know, how can we help you through that? We have things called the Clarion Call, Clarissa's Corner. The review is really important also in this book as you go through the chapter, and then you review what we've just said, because it kind of brings it back home and it helps their homework a little bit, be a little bit more easy, if you will. We talk about mirror therapy, which is so powerful, so impactful. It looks weird, it feels weird, but I tell you, it's where you want to have a box of tissues, because when you start talking, strangely enough, when you start talking to yourself and it's directly at yourself, it shifts and it changes dramatically the way you perceive yourself and the work that you know you need to do. The work you need.
So how do you use mirror? Yeah, tell us about mirror therapy. I don't know much about it.
You don't know about it. Okay, so as far as I know about mirror therapy, started with Louise Hays, and we all know Louise Hays was, you know, publisher of many self-help, what they used to call self-help books. And the quick sidebar, when I was growing up, you know, the only help that I could find was really in the bookstores, and it was really in the self-help section. Well, the self-help section used to be like one tower. That was it. I mean, and you'd be lucky to find what you were looking for. I go into Barnes and Noble now, and it is one massive, just massive rows and rows and rows of personal help, which they call it now personal help, personal development. So it's good to see that, you know, it's $1 billion industry. It kind of was, I'm going to say started by Louise Hays, but it was sort of corralled by Louise Hays in the publishing realm. But she, as I know it, she started the first time
the affirmations
and talking to yourself in the mirror as you're doing so. Jack Canfield from the Chicken Soup for the Soul series also implemented it into his work, and so I realized the importance of being able to stop, take a deep breath, take a look at yourself, because when you're looking into your own eyes, you're taking a deep dive into your soul, just the deepest dive, and start saying to yourself, I forgive you. I love you. I know you've made mistakes and you may make some more, but that's okay. I'm here for you. It sounds ridiculous when you hear it this way, but when you write down what it is you need to work on, and you start telling yourself, it really is so impactful. The other thing we talk about is boundaries. And we hear about boundaries all the time. And people think, you know, boundaries, I set up my boundaries, and people think that has to be angry and you have to be upset about it. And you can set up your boundaries with ease, joy, and glory, and make it, you know, nothing more than a nice chat you've had with somebody that will teach them, show them, and help them understand how you will and will not, or how you wish or wish not to be treated. So if you can do that, when you learn to do that in a really nice, calm, collected way, it really speaks volumes toward not only you and the self-esteem that you're feeling for yourself, but you're also passing that on as a lesson to someone else, which is what really good, happy, healthy self-esteem does frequently. It shows others also how they can be relating in their own lives, whether it be relationship to self or relationship to others.
Fascinating. So that's very helpful, isn't it?
Talk about failure. People are afraid of failure. You know, what if I fail? Well, what if I fail? Well, gee, I hope you do. Because remember that failing, truly, I mean, oh my God, what if I fail? Okay, great. So next, like, is that your biggest
problem? What if you don't?
Well, yeah, right. And what if you don't? But the other
thing, I think the way that I like to do things is I actually like to work out the worst case scenario. And I like to sit there, but not in a pessimistic way, to just think, okay, for example, I've just moved from London to Cornwall by myself without knowing anyone here, which is, you know, most people think it's pretty brave. And what's my worst case scenario? Look, I'm good at making friends. Every time I go to the loo in a bar, I make 10 friends. Like, it's not a difficult thing for me to do. I just walk down the street. I'm friends with everyone. It's easy for me.
Right.
So, you know, I'm good at that. So what's the worst case scenario? I moved down here, I bought a house, and if I have to move back to London and run away with my tail between my legs, so be it. But I felt that this was the place for me to be. And so I went and did it. Like, I will just go, I'm pretty kamikaze with things. And like, what's the worst case scenario is I move back to London. So what?
Right.
If that is it, that's okay.
Did you have any naysayers?
Many. But I felt I lived in this house in a past life. I felt it when I saw pictures of this house online, and my eyes started leaking. And it was really weird. I'm not much of a crier because I deal with my emotional stuff. It's not that I'm avoiding crying. I just nip it in the bud,
Right.
before I get there. But literally, and I clear trauma for a living, so I'm very good at identifying what emotions are. There was just emotion. I don't know if it was happy or sad or angry or whatever. And I can literally tell the flavor of emotion in seconds. That's largely what my job is. It was just emotion. And I was like, what is going on? I spoke to my friend, who's a psychic Spring, one of our divine empowerment students. And she just said, you lived there in a past life and your daughter was murdered. And then you killed yourself. And then you vowed to be able to dissolve traumas for everybody else. And that's why, so you're coming full circle. And I was, ooh, that's a bit strange. But, you know, and it makes sense. And then I came here, which was just so strange. And I viewed the house. Each one of your organs in Chinese medicine has a different organ associated. Times have different organs associated. So your liver, sorry, your lungs are between 11 and 1. No, gallbladder is 11 and 1. 1 a.m. is your lungs, and then you've got your liver, which is anger. So lungs is grief, liver is anger, and then your large intestine is 5 until 7, which is about not letting stuff go. And I woke up at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock, which like as soon as I viewed this house, and I thought it's because I'm excited, it's because I'm going surfing, and I was getting tighter and tighter because I kept on waking up and I couldn't get back to sleep. And then I was like, I'm on holiday, I'm excited, all this. Got back to London, same thing. 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, grief, anger, not letting stuff go. And it was from walking into this house, I picked up all of that emotion from the past life and I had to clear everything there. Right. And then I was able to let stuff go. So yeah, it was bizarre.
Right. But if you didn't have a strong sense of self-esteem, if you didn't have a strong sense of self, this you would not have made this move. I promise you. You know,
no, of course not.
All of the naysayers would have kept you back and they would have held you back. And you went for it because you knew that there was a reason to do so.
My dad still thinks I'm crazy. My dad still thinks, like, everyone, my house is incredible. I have an incredible house overlooking the sea. Like, everyone who's come to my house has just gone, damn girl. But my father came down to visit and goes, I still think you've made a mistake. I still think you're going to come back to London in like 2 years' time. He thinks I want to be friends with intellectuals and stuff. And I like bankers and lawyers like he is. I just, honestly, some of them I just find really quite dull. I like people with personality. And that tends not to be people who spent their whole lives in books.
By the way, Dad, your friends are dull. That's beautiful. I love that. But again, you know, talking about failure, I mean, it comes up. Let's say the thought came up. The thought must have come up for you, not only, but everyone else was reminding you.
And so what? Do you know what the thing is? That's why I work through this worst case scenario. So what? If I do go back to London, so what? That's okay. I knew that I needed to be here. My guidance told me I needed to be here, so I just did it. But it is quite wild to do that. You know, most people wouldn't do that sort of thing, but that's what I did. But, you know, I do think everybody needs to, I do think, rather not focusing on the doom and gloom of situations, but literally thinking, what's the worst that can happen? If I shoot and I miss, the only failure is really stopping. You know, if I shoot and I miss, then you redirect, surely.
Well, as an acronym, fail is your first attempt in learning. Right.
Love it.
So, you know, the first light bulb wasn't perfect. The first car that came off of an assembly line was imperfect. And, you know, and so the point being that, you know, you are going to fail until you succeed. And I hope you succeed quickly, but you're going to fail. I mean, you know, the first shot is probably not going to, you know, hit the mark right off. So sometimes it takes practice. Sometimes it takes patience. Sometimes it takes tenacity or all of the above.
We all fail at walking as a child, you know. Did we stop and then we just sat there for the rest of our lives, never walking? Like, you're gonna wobble, you're gonna screw up, and that's okay. That's part of it. Why do people expect? I think we have this thing where we expect to be an expert as an adult and we limit ourselves. I've just taken up surfing. I'm terrible at surfing. I'm a beginner of it and I haven't got very much upper body strength and I need to develop. I love surfing, but I'm really bad at it. And I've taken it up at 41 and I'm learning how to do it. But, you know, it's very easy to say, oh, no, that's not for me, because you're bad at it. It's hard. It's really hard sport.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard go. It's a hard go. I agree. It is. But, I mean, there are things in life where, I say often, and I say tomorrow isn't always promised, and so, so I like to remind people that tomorrow isn't always promised, not again for the doom and gloom, but for so it serves as a spark.
Precious.
To really get up and go, to really make sure that you're making the time count. There are many things I still want to do in my lifetime before the angels sing. And so, sometimes it's really tough. Again, we talked about the heat here. It makes it more difficult, or something that happens, it triggers you in your personal life. It makes it really, really hard. In fact, I just broke up with a guy I was dating from London about 9 months ago. And it really brought me down. I mean, really brought me down in a big way, but, got through it. And I'm not going to, there's no shame in saying I cried for a couple of months. I mean, I totally sobbed for a couple of months. Got it up, got it out, did what I had to do, got onto the self-care wagon, made myself feel really great again. And here I am, off I go next. And I think I told you some of the, the things beforehand, of the things that I'll be doing next. The network is next. The event for women is next. There are lots going on here. But I was able, I believe, to be able to rebound in the way that I did, another re word, because every chapter in this book begins with a re word. Because I talk about standing strong in your stead, meaning that you're firmly rooted, no matter what happens in life throws at you, no matter how triggered you are, when the storm comes through, when the hurricane hits, when the tornado is zipping its way through your life, you notwithstanding, you might lose a branch or two, or a leaf, or a couple, but you're not going to be uprooted with the storm. So you're really strongly, you're going, and that's what just happened to me. I wasn't uprooted with the storm. And so I like being able to remind people of these couple of things, because again, that's what life is. There's no way of getting around that. And here's the other thing about going back to what you were talking about, worrying potentially about what could be and what ifs and what if it goes wrong. And as you said, I love you say, well, what if it doesn't go wrong? And that's another great way of thinking about it. Worrying is praying for what you do not want. And that's a statement that was made by Emma Churchman. Worrying is praying for what you do not want. So
it definitely is. And it's worse than that. It's manifesting what you don't want. Whenever I talk about this quite often, about the negative side of the law of attraction, which is never spoken about, and damn, it annoys me. So basically, if we understand the law of attraction, it's what you're focusing on, you invite. So that's what it is. So if you want abundance, you need to be focused on abundance as opposed to lack. But it's bloody difficult to focus on abundance when you're worried. For example, like the fuel prices in the UK are going through the roof at the moment.
Yes.
And I think globally as well. But I mean, yeah, we're crazy. I know your gas prices have risen, but they're still a lot cheaper than ours. Sorry. Our gas prices are a nightmare. So and they have been forever. But if you sit there and go, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I do? You're actually inviting that reality in. And also, if you had some difficulty in childhood, like maybe there was loss or rejection or abandonment or whatever it is, you're actually, until you clear that out of your field, you are inviting more of the same. And the universe will seek to bring you what it is you're focusing on.
That's right.
And it's the dark side of the law of attraction. It is, because it's like you're putting an order in, like you're focused on, you should be focused on things you want, not the things you don't want. If you're focused on lack or loss or betrayal, you're really fixated. You're going, universe, hello, please send me more of this. And the universe just delivers what it is. And you're getting the things you don't want. And it's crazy that people don't know this and work through it, and then be able to change their mind and focus on things that they do want rather than things that they don't. And this is including, us, I don't know, looking at someone else and going, who the hell does she think she is? She's got this. You need to be building yourself, building your network, building what you need to be doing, and don't worry about everybody else rather than sitting there and gossiping and focusing on all their stuff. It's a total waste of time. And actually, it's bad for you. It's bad for your mental health, and it's bad for your manifesting.
Well, it's bad juju for sure. It's very bad. I think that the best thing that you can possibly ever do is to be really happy for anyone else's success. because
Build
it's
them
their
up.
path, it's their journey, it's their work, it's their business. It's not, it's none of your business. And so when you can get to the point where you're feeling really truly happy about someone else's success, you know that you're well on your way, on the road to happy, healthy self-esteem, as I call it. I like to also say something along the lines of the toxic stops here. So I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. And I've worked very hard. I don't read anything else, very real. I mean, never did I read a romance or a fiction or a biography. No, it was always in the self-help section, because I knew that that's what I needed. I knew that it wasn't taught from the family, and I needed the strength to move on from my toxic childhood. So I really wanted to be the person that said the toxic stops here. This is where it stops. And to know that it was going to be my hard work that was going to make or break, to actually be the difference that I wanted to see in the world, as I think it was Gandhi said. So that's another thing. It's sort of it's a self-imposed mission for me to make sure that I'm always, and I fall short, but that I'm always at least working toward being better tomorrow than I am today. And for whatever that means. Sometimes it's just a smile to a stranger in the supermarket, or a lovely compliment you've left with someone, or holding the door in an elevator, those common courtesy things that, from way back when we used to do those things, these lovely things, that getting up for the elderly in public transportation, or for a pregnant lady, get up, do the right thing. It's silly. Some of it is so simple and so silly, but I guarantee you that getting up for a pregnant person, or for the elderly, pregnant woman or the elderly, would mean that you've made you put a smile on her face or their face, and you're going to feel pretty darn good about yourself too. Sometimes it's in the littlest things, that upon which
I think it creates blessings, though. I think that I have this whole thing about, if you have the opportunity to be kind, take it. I have that as my as a motto that I sort of live by, and I'll always just, I don't know, you can be in a public restroom and you see, like, I don't know, some toilet paper on the ground, even picking up something disgusting, and it's not nice, or giving somebody a compliment on the street. Like, just always, you see the opportunity to be kind, take it. And always leave a situation better than you found it. Like, if I'm in someone's house, I'll go and do the washing up, or I'll just get on with different things, unless, why not help when you can? And I think that if everybody took the opportunity to be kind, then I think the world would be a much nicer place. But I think not that you do it because of it, but I do think you get blessings when you do that sort of thing. And it's not a reason to do it, but it's a nice little side effect that I think happens to us.
Yeah. One other thing I'll leave you with, and that is, is that people say, oh, I'm good enough, you're good enough, we're good enough, I'm good enough. Well, if you look up enough, the definition is only as much as is required. Now, I don't know about you, Antonia, but I know that I am so much more than is required. And I work hard on that. And it's, it comes more easily now, but I've really done the work, to want to be, as I said, better tomorrow than I am today. So my new motto is, I am so much more than enough. I'm
awesome.
Yeah, right, exactly. You fill in the blank, but enough isn't enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this scenario, and what I'm trying to impart upon others, and be careful about the words you use, and for your self-conscious, subconscious. I'm enough. Well, enough falls a little short, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm enough. Falls a little short, but I am so much more than enough, doesn't. So I think that that's really, really another important lesson in self-esteem. And again, getting back to tomorrow isn't always promised. I can do anything. I could do anything. You could do anything. We can do anything. Well, okay, you can
get on with it.
You can, well, that too, but you can do anything until you can't. I'll think about that for a second, and all of the ramifications around that. Does that mean, that someone has had to pass on, that you didn't get to say goodbye to, or you didn't get to make up with, or you didn't get to say the things you wanted to say to? Because life is life, and it will happen, and it happens quickly sometimes, and so unexpectedly. So I think that when you can let someone go in those kinds of scenarios and know that you did everything and that you are at peace because you made peace beforehand, is another really, really strong self-esteem piece. This, self-esteem is not only about don't compare yourself to others. Self-esteem is what I like to call living high. And it is living in honor, living in integrity, living in greatness, and living in honesty. And so if you can do those four things, and again, we all fall short, we're human, we're always going to hit the mark. But if you try to live with honesty and integrity and with greatness and with honor, then you've done the best you can possibly do with the tools that you have in the shed at the time.
Honesty, integrity, greatness, and honor. Yeah.
Those are my Fab Four. Those are the facts.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I do think about these things. I don't think that you can truly be happy if you're not living with integrity or if you're being dishonorable in some way. I think that if you are stealing or having an affair or trying to screw people over in some capacity, you're going to feel rubbish about yourself. Well, I don't think that you can feel good about yourself when you're screwing other people over. I don't think that's how we operate. And I think that maybe you're avoiding it. Maybe you're hiding it with drugs or alcohol or something like that. Maybe you're, not acknowledging it, but it will be gnawing away at you. It will be gnawing at your self-esteem. Like if you can go to sleep at night and say, I did everything right, I'm a good person, then I think that is so, so important. And you're going to make enemies doing it. I've always done that. I've always been truthful, and I've made enemies doing it. And then they've come back to me years later and go, shit, I wish I listened to you. Like you were the only one who said it. And I was like, I don't lie. I'm not interested. I never have. I won't play that game. And a lot of people ask me to lie. I'm like, don't fucking tell me things. I don't mind if someone shares a secret. I don't mind not saying about it. But if it's something about an affair or something dangerous or something, I'm like, just don't involve me, mate. Because if they come to me, it's coming out. I know I don't necessarily go out of my way to say things. And if there are private things, I'm happy to keep really good secrets. But don't ask me to lie because I ain't going to do it.
Right. And to your point, we often hear about the extra mile and going the extra mile. Well, let me tell you another thing that I love to impart, and that is that extra mile is damn lonely.
Yeah.
It can be very lonely, and you could be walking it in the dark, under a thunderstorm, without an umbrella, without your galoshes, without a raincoat, with stormy and windy and ghosts around every corner, and you still need to trot on. And
suck it up, buttercup. I say to myself, suck it up, buttercup. You've got to stay with God and your integrity. You've got to stay with truth. Truth matters more than my mission, and my truth matters more than my own personal safety and anything bloody else along the way. It's irrelevant. My comfort is irrelevant.
Yes. But hopefully we get to the point in self-esteem where we're comfortable as well. I mean, that not everyone's going to like you, and that you will be losing, there's going to be, first of all, self-esteem is nothing but an immense amount of courage. So get ready for that and get ready to be uncomfortable. Please do, because you will be uncomfortable, especially if you do the work in the book. I've already told you that the first chapter is release. Well, that's hard. That is not easy. And I wanted to tell you back when you were talking about, people not doing the right thing, that karma is a bitch, and you could probably talk more about that. But, the work that you're going to do.
Only when you are.
Yeah. Yes. The second chapter that we go directly into rebuild. Okay, you've released, fantastic. Let's rebuild. Let's build from the ground up. Where are you? Where do you want to be? And let's move there. The third thing that we need to take care of is responsibility. Where are we taking responsibility for our lives, and where are we shirking responsibility? Where do we need to be really throwing some more energy toward the responsibilities that we are not, we're not really up to par yet? There's a lot of work in this book. I tell you, I love my baby because it is my baby, but it was picked up by a New York City publisher for a reason. It is in the bookstores where we have no bookstores now. I'm so proud of the fact that when we go in, my last name being Burt, I go in and it's next to Tabitha Brown, Brene Brown. They've all been on Oprah. It's next to Deepak Chopra because he's a C. And then we've got Dr. Joe Dispenza right next to
you out.
Yeah. So we take a picture. We go into I should show you send you a picture. But when I go in and I take a picture of the cubby, if you will, of my shelf, and who I'm up there with. I mean, it is a dream come true for me. And what I often say is this for me is it's a manual, but it's a mission and a movement so that people everywhere can live in happy, health, esteem. You know, you and I live in countries that we're pretty lucky to live in. It may not always seem that way, but we live in free states. You know, we live with freedom. Let's just call it that for all intents and purposes. There are a lot of women that are living in very oppressive situations that are not as lucky as we are. And my greatest dream is their freedom, their eventual freedom one day. And once they're, you know, I don't want to stir up the bees in the beehive, but I do want women everywhere to know that there is another way that they could be living. I'd love to get them all out and be able to take care of them all. I don't know how to fix that part yet, but I know that really, I mean, that rumbles in my stomach, the idea that so many women, and I speak to men as well, and certainly children, but we are the strength. We are the strength behind men, and we are the strength behind children. So yeah. Love to be able to have,
we need to be the strength behind each other. That's the thing. Women looking after women.
I mean, that's my like number one motto. I mean, I live, work, and breathe for women. That's what we do here. So, and the mastermind, you know, that I run does the same thing. So we are all about women's position and condition, and, you know, and support and love. And we've even integrated the book into the mastermind. So the mastermind is 12 sessions. The book is 12 chapters. And as opposed to in the beginning, when the mastermind was just all about business, now it's about business and personal. And I will tell you, Antonia, what has come out from the last masterminds, from the idea that women have said, Clarissa, you've created such a safe place for us to land. When they come to the mastermind and say, girls, I need some extra prayers this week, or this week, because my son tried to commit suicide.
Oh, goodness.
Or I need some extra prayers this week because a university professor who also is in publishing books came and said one of my kids did commit suicide. Or I need some extra prayers this week because we just found out my husband has stage 4 prostate cancer. So it did kind of open up this, and I get goosebumps. I really do, because it's such a, and sometimes it's full on tissue time, and we shut down everything business, and we focus on her, and we round robin, and we give her, you know, resources, phone calls, names, you know, 501c3s, charities, anything that might be able to help with whatever she's going through at the time. So yeah, I love that, you know, I love what I'm doing. I love, it took a while for this to all happen, but I will spend the rest of my days, you know, as long as there's breath in this body, doing exactly what I'm doing now, which is media, communication, connecting, and then just, you know, full on loving on ladies. I just love what I do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Have you got any words of wisdom to close on, please, Clarissa?
I think I do. Loyalty is when you have my back behind my back. And I really
like that.
Yeah, I think that this is another thing whereby, you know, if you are in a coffee clutch and you're at the water cooler and everybody's bashing on somebody, are you the one that enters into the bashing? Or are you the one that says, you know, I know Susie Q, and that's not my experience of her. Maybe she was just having a bad day that day, or maybe you should try to get to know her just a little bit better. Maybe she needs a little more love. Now, I know it sounds corny, but again, there's that extra mile where you're going to be a little more alone than everyone else, because it's that tribe mentality. It's the pack mentality, like a pack of wolves or a pack of coyotes.
When you stand up and do this, which, you know, I'm very good at. I mean, I'm Scorpio. I'm like fight to the death loyal,
right.
To my detriment often.
Right. Of course, yeah.
You turn them around, and you say, no, I don't. That's not my experience. And then someone else will go, me neither. And you actually can turn the whole crowd around to actually be your way of thinking, just by having some balls.
And therein lies your power. And people will back off of that, and people will be afraid of that. They're going to go, whoa. Until you know, and then it's kind of on us to, you know, to reel them back in, but in a different way, and in a more loving and more comprehensive, more inclusive way. And I say inclusive meaning love. Inclusive to me doesn't mean color or religion. It just means, you know, in a more loving way. So yeah, I love what I'm doing. I do love my book. I'm crazy about the messaging in here, and it's self-esteem, as you as you well know, is so much more than, stop comparing yourself to everybody. It's so much more. It is that too. Don't compare yourself to anyone else ever, because you're lucky enough that you get to be you. You know, when the divine, the universe, Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, wherever your faith and your strength is, they knew exactly what they were doing when they created you. You have no business at all second guessing a higher power. So just go with the flow and be lucky that, that you get to be you, you lucky dog.
Yeah, fantastic. So remind us where we can buy the books. So my audience is mostly UK based. We don't have Barnes and Noble over here.
Just go right to Amazon.
Amazon.
Just right to Amazon. Yep, you can find it right on Amazon. The Self-Esteem Regime by Clarissa Burt. There's that beautiful blue cover that I insisted upon, and everything else.
and you're on Audible as well, did you say?
Yes, we're on Audible and Kindle also. Yep. So you can hear my lovely voice
Fantastic.
telling you all about the book, or reading you the book, or you can get it on Kindle, and certainly on Amazon.com. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful. So we're going to put your details of your website below. And thank you very much for the interview. And everybody, please do subscribe and get in touch with Clarissa if you'd like to know more, or simply buy her book.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. There we go. And no, hang on. Just trying to stop it. Now I can remember how to do these things. More recording. Stop.